Chapter 10. Dating. Aside from having some very interesting adventures, SuzyQ had some very interesting dates. In the celebrity category, she went boating with a famous pop singer, had dinner with a rock superstar, and spent several enchanting evenings with royalty. It was Nelson, the love of her life, who took her for drinks aboard the royal yacht Britannia with Queen Elizabeth II and Prince Philip, and then to dinner with Prince Charles and Lady Diana. It was all quite extraordinary for a former country bumpkin. The first time she saw Nelson, she knew they would be together. Until that moment, SuzyQ had been lonely, and often wondered why love had eluded her. She was good-looking and had a good body and personality, but she was picky and dumped guys if there was the slightest thing that bugged her. Several offers of marriage had been presented, but she turned them down because she did not feel in her heart she could swear before God in a church that she really loved that person. Seemed God still played a big, albeit unofficial role in her life. After all, she hadn't even attended a church for years. That was why SuzyQ broke off the engagement to Capri's father, and so it was that SuzyQ, 3 months pregnant with her daughter, met Nelson. Even decades later, SuzyQ would still be able to recall in detail the moment she fell in love with Nelson. She first saw him in a crowd of protesters at a train station. She and a friend had gone to the gathering as reporters, and when SuzyQ surveyed the crowd, she spotted him, and he quite literally took her breath away. He was blonde and blue-eyed with a square jaw and sexy smile, and he walked through the noisy throng with confidence. As he moved closer to where she was standing, her heart beat faster, and she started to sweat. It was almost as if her body recognized him. They said a brief hello, and she found out he was the local politician, a well-known man about town. The next day, she was assigned to interview him about a problem at the sewage treatment plant. It was during the interview, while on camera, standing close together, eyes locked, that the two of them fell madly in love. A few days later, she found out he was married, and he found out she was pregnant. But that mattered not a whit. A month later, they stupidly attended the annual media Halloween dance and behaved like two gushing teenagers all snuggled up together on the dance floor. Their affair became common knowledge as all the reporters in town stood there, jaws hitting the floor, as the married elected official and the unmarried pregnant reporter started necking during a slow song. The relationship lasted for 16 years. SuzyQ had been with Nelson for about 7 years when she was invited to accompany him to an evening with the Queen aboard Her Royal Majesty's yacht Britannia. She thought it would be so much fun. How naive. How incredibly naive. She had never been to any kind of formal function in her life and didn't have a clue about what was expected or how to act. Raised in a small town, there was no exposure to the goings-on of that kind of high society. First came the security checks, followed by the list of do's and don'ts that came in the mail a week prior to the event. She discovered there are rules on how to behave when in the company of royals. Don't speak unless you're spoken to. Do curtsy this way. Don't wear this. Blah, blah, blah. As the appointed evening approached, the more nervous she got. She didn't know how to act around society people, much less the Queen of bloody England. The pressure was on, and she couldn't take it, and started feeling like she had a date with the executioner. Her self-confidence in these matters took a beating. She fretted as she paced, and thoughts of disaster ruminated. Everyone will know I'm just a weenie in a fancy dress. Those people are so much better than me. I'm going to look like such a fool. Please don't let anyone talk to me. Then she started drinking to calm her nerves. She was ready to go at 6 o'clock, but her lover man wasn't picking her up until 8. As the minutes ticked by, her insecurities and fears grew. It was horrible. She finished off the first drink, then thought if one went down that fast, better have another.